I'll add to this conversation with respect to the proclivity that we all have based on history, based on what we constantly are seeing daily that holds up the value system of what is perfect, just, and beautiful, right? You can look at your TV screens, you can look at perhaps some of the books you read, you can look at the teachers that have been before you from elementary school, matriculating through your college experience. If you did not go to college, maybe vocational school, or perhaps even the military, the individuals that served in leadership positions, who did they look like? And so it's not surprising that we all have a proclivity to kind of identify with what we think is right, just, beautiful, perhaps. And so those have to be shifted and changed, and not to suggest that those people in those particular positions aren't beautiful human beings. That's not what I'm saying. I'm simply saying that society has given us a blueprint for what is deemed to be, based on historical ramifications of racism and race, what is deemed to be the ideal of a lived experience in America. And that precludes any other country, continent, or the beauty that would represent the value of diversity and inclusion. And so taking a bias test at this point in our lives, quite frankly, is going to shift based on where your ideology has landed in your lived experiences. When I've taken that test based on my own experiences, I have a proclivity towards African-American people. Why? Because of my experiences and lived experiences on earth. When I was born, my mom was very calculated in making sure that my doctors were African-American, that the schools that I went to were reflective of my culture, perhaps. Not to discount that my experiences with other cultures or human constructed races were not beautiful. And that's not to say, oh, I have white friends, so now I'm equal. No, I'm not saying that either. I'm simply saying that based on your lived experiences, those are the things that you have a proclivity towards. And because it's detrimental when society bakes the standard and then criminalizes those or devalues those that don't live up to what society has purveyed as the ideal. And so it's not surprising that we would take that test or any of these bias tests and have, regardless of what you look like, have a proclivity towards one particular ideology, because that's what we've been fed over time. Mm-hmm. And so that's why it's important that we are constantly educating ourselves and living in our own truth and valuing the experiences and being a part of organizations like Big Brothers Big Sisters, whether you work for it or whether you are a big, because you're being matched with people who may or may not look like you, or may not have lived experiences as you. That's the beauty of having context around the importance of education too. Right? We have the mindset, thank God, to be able to go out and seek. And for those who are not as able-bodied as us, like my daughter who's special needs, who's 7, my responsibility is to cultivate a world around her that sees the beauty of all that can provide to her, whether her teachers are Latino, Caucasian, African-American, Asian-American, that she can see through her own eyes the beauty of a person that is leaning into her lived experiences. So I just encourage us all, as we are growing and developing, to know that this is a journey that's going to take time, that's going to take effort and intentionality towards making sure that we understand all of our lived experiences bring forth a beauty that is necessary to unpack, while also recognizing that we can be detrimental in our spaces if we're not open to the beauty that we all represent.